I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order on a roll call vote.
King here.
Handy here.
Shepherd here.
Law here.
Austin here.
Rocky here.
And I'd like to call the CDC to order on a roll call vote.
Pig here.
King here.
Shepherd here.
Law here.
Austin here.
Gothi, you're here.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so prior minutes. There were two sets, one from our combined meeting and one from the one with the select board. I want to thank Liz and Lynn for stepping up to the plate and doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
I set them all out. Do I hear a motion for the minutes of March 26th? That was our meeting.
So moved.
Seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. And on the minutes of March 27th, that was the joint with the select board. Thank you, Lynn. Do I hear a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Abstain.
And one abstention because,
Non-attendant.
oh, you weren't there. Okay, so we'll move on to our agenda items, which is pretty general. Discuss the annual town meeting warrant articles. So let's start. There were, I think, 2 or 3 things specifically we wanted to address. One was the firefighters, in that the Finance Committee had voted not to support the article to hire a new firefighter, and the Select Board had voted to support hiring a new firefighter. And I guess Liz and Lynn had put together PowerPoint presentations. They sent them out to us. And I'd like to turn it over to Lynn first, who is also a liaison for the fire department. And it's all yours.
Okay, first of all, I guess I want to ask, how do you think this will go? Like, does the fire come first in the warrant article, or does the schools? The fire?
Schools come
School
first.
comes first.
Article
School is
3.
2 and 3.
Because, like, I used, you know, a lot of your data about where we stand in terms of revenue in kind of a chart, and we don't want to be repetitive. Do you think, should we, if we're going to do a presentation, should we do it up front before the general discussion? Before the meeting, like sometimes they do? No?
I'd say article by article, and then it's fresh in everybody's mind.
Okay.
And being redundant is not necessarily bad.
Okay.
Because what you want to do is, just as you started out in your PowerPoint, why did the FinCom not approve adding a full-time firefighter? Then you should present your facts just as you have. I thought it was flowed pretty well, actually. So are you not going to explain the revenue? Like I say,
No, I thought it was important. I thought of the PowerPoint I put together, I thought that just the first 2 would be enough. The others were kind of backup things. So to be honest, I was rushing around before I was leaving on vacation. So I was trying to get everything that would support our argument about why didn't we want to do this. When I read Liz's, I thought hers was a little bit cleaner in terms of a little less detail, a little bigger, you know, which was better. Mine is a little busy here, you know, like you can put up this chart, but I don't know if people can read it very well in terms of
They're going to have
Right.
trouble reading
yeah.
that
So-
amount of information.
I think there should be, I think it's important to say our costs are growing faster than our revenues. And maybe I need some bullets to that rather than this eye chart, you know. And I had put down comments down here about that. All right, and then the second one that I put together was avoiding the Prop 2.5 override kind of thing, and this was mostly from what Joe had put together. So again, I liked Liz's in that I think people would follow it better, but I thought it was important. I hesitated to get into we have to wait till the committee comes back with their report, because I think they worked hard to come to their conclusion in the first meeting they had with Mark. So while they'll have a more detailed report, I think they feel they've already supported that one fireman argument.
There's not going to be any further reporting that I'm aware of.
You don't think they'll have more?
No, going into next year, we're going to get together and start talking about 5 years going forward. And
So he's talking about there won't be any further reporting on this particular
Right.
staff
Right,
edition.
right.
But they will be doing a full analysis because they have stated that they want to go to 12.
Right.
So there's got to be all of that kind of analysis.
Right, so basically I was focusing on just two things, the revenue and avoiding a Prop 2.5 override. I didn't think, we had that salary analysis, which I thought was good. It was kind of surprising that the fire was so high, but I thought maybe that wasn't a great thing to bring up at the town meeting.
It's good to follow this, because those are the points we're gonna make for the school. The 2.5 overrides and being close to the,
Yeah.
for the budget and the same exact things. It's the same exact points as the school.
So, and that will be the first article to come up for discussion, at which we will want to have a PowerPoint. So I was thinking that because that one, the school comes up first, we could start to lay the groundwork around revenue growth being slower than anticipated expenses, staying away from the Prop 2.5 override, and lay that through, and then additional information about the school budgets in terms of people understanding discretionary versus required. And then for the fire department, much of the same rationale will apply.
Yeah, so,
Well, do you want to discuss the school first, since it falls first in the
yeah, let's see.
warrant, and see what's going to come out of that one?
Right, that would be helpful.
And then maybe that'll flow into the firefighters.
Right.
Okay.
We can decide what I want to add, what we should add to that, or just re-emphasize with that.
All right, who wants to lead in with the schools? Joe, that's your...
I think a good lead-in is that we had two versions of the letter to the superintendent that were tendered.
Yep.
Paul took a cut at it, you took a cut at it, which I edited heavily and sent around for comments on it. And I think maybe both of them have a slightly different twist to them. And I think we ought to decide what twist should we go with on that and that will lead into whatever PowerPoint we would put together as a result of that to reinforce what's said in the letter here. So.
I just want to, as a footnote, since the select board, didn't talk about it last week, and now they'll be talking about it tomorrow, I believe. I don't know if it's on their agenda, I didn't look. And as it's pushing up against town meetings for all the other towns, I'm really not sure what kind of an impact this is going to have if, in fact, the select board is going to sign it, which, if they do sign it, it's kind of contradictory to how they voted in the school. Yeah, they voted to approve the school budget, and this letter is stating not to approve it and giving an outline as to the why. So I'm not sure how they're going to justify signing it to begin with. And if they don't sign it, where do we go from here?
You gotta remember who the letter is written for.
The other towns.
It's not to the town meeting.
It's for two groups.
Yeah.
It's for the other towns and it's for our town.
Yeah.
It's not for the superintendent, it's not for the select board.
Correct. And the question is there time for the other towns now to do anything?
Yes,
The warrants are actually,
absolutely.
the warrants are written.
Absolutely, the chair people are gonna be there. we're gonna provide them that letter. That letter's gonna go on Facebook, if we all agree, for Sterling, and they have the opportunity to have our slides to discuss it at their meetings. And I mean, if you look at Rutland and their situation, and having already done an override and have to do another one, and Paxton doing an override, I think they're gonna wanna talk about that.
Yeah.
So if the selectmen don't sign it, because the majority had decided to wait and see how the selectmen were gonna bend on this letter.
We'll just
So-
sign it ourselves.
So, well, that's something we should decide, because we
Yeah.
decided to wait, and if they didn't sign it, we should take action. So if they don't sign it tomorrow, our next meeting actually isn't scheduled for 2 weeks.
So do we go with it if they don't sign it tomorrow night?
And then
Yes.
who's gonna publish it to who? And then we have to take the select board's name off of it, obviously.
Yeah.
'Cause they're not
That's an
gonna be.
easy edit, I can do that right now.
Yeah. I can do Word. So, does somebody wanna,
Well, so.
Motion, so we have
Before we
two
motion,
letters on
yeah,
here.
let's
First of
discuss
all, we
it.
need to decide how.
shouldn't we
the
decide if we're
messaging
gonna
is
send
to-
them if they vote against it? Doesn't matter which one?
Yeah.
Okay. Does somebody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we send one of the 2 letters regardless of whether the select board signs it or not.
I'll second that motion.
Say, be specific as to whom it's going, to the
It
superintendent.
will go to the superintendent and it's CC.
Same
all
distribution
the
list.
other
Okay,
That Holden did.
heads of the finance committees of the other towns on it.
I'm not on finance.
No, I know. I second it.
Oh, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now, who wants to talk about the letters?
In reading both of them, I think that Paul's is a better letter for the other towns, just to kind of focus in the impact to them versus you have a lot of detail in yours and suggestions on what the superintendent should do. But I think the audience we want to get to are the other towns, right?
Well, shorter is oftentimes better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people will actually read it
Yeah.
instead of look at it.
And it focuses right in on the problem, you know, and right in the beginning, which I liked. This is the same problem I have with mine versus Liz's.
Yeah, shorter being better.
Yeah,
It also focuses on being anchored to the inflation rate of 3.2, which just happens to coincide
Social Security,
with
which it does.
with Holden's suggestion.
Right, it all ties together.
Yeah, and Social Security, which should be the gauge for everything anyway. Okay, so,
So that's the anchor piece on that, is it's really tied to
I
inflation.
could have been
And-
funny, but I chose the CPI that was all items, but you can pick up one. I picked that one so it would be consistent.
yeah. Are there any other comments or edits anybody suggests?
There's a few little grammar things I noticed on my version, so I'll clean those up.
AI can take care of that, Paul.
Yeah, it's no such thing.
God, autocorrect sometimes makes things worse.
All right, so,
Need a motion?
I move that we use the draft that Paul submitted as our letter.
I second that.
All in
Any
favor?
discussion?
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was easy.
Okay, so now,
So,
we voted to publish it either way tomorrow. Mark?
Just looking at the agenda for these selectmen, they are gonna take up the letter.
They are.
yes.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
is
so they'll-
an agenda item, but they may choose to not sign it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be an up or down tomorrow, probably,
They're calling it the finance committee letter to the school.
which it is. It's addressed to the superintendent.
So in order to address that, if we all agree on this, we need to send this to the select board.
Yeah, before their meeting.
Pronto.
Oh, yes.
Tonight,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is their meeting tomorrow or next week?
Tomorrow.
tomorrow night.
Yeah. That's why this is important to get it.
I'll make the edits and send it to you right now.
And the other comment I would make, you know, toward the edit, do we have the right CC list on it? If we think that the select board won't sign it and we're going to remove that, do we have the right CC list? We have copied Michelle Grease, who's the finance director, and we've copied each one of the chairs of the finance committees for the respective towns. The school committee chair, Scott Runston, and the business and finance chair, Jana Brennan.
No select board chairs?
No select board chairs.
Okay.
That's the way that it was structured.
That would seem to be.
For good or bad, that's the way it
All right.
was structured. So are there any thoughts on, does it need to be broader than that, or is that broad enough?
I think it gets to the target audience.
Do we need to copy our own liaison to the, you know, on the school board?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Do we need to copy our
School committee?
school committee?
I would, that's a good idea. The copy of the liaison, I would add them to the decision.
So
Yeah.
who was that?
Yeah.
All three members of our school
just the
committee,
chair?
or just the chair?
All three. There's only three of them.
For Sterling's representatives, right?
Right.
In other words, Sterling's reps, not
Correct.
liaisons.
Correct.
Sterling's reps. Okay. So,
Do we have the contact info for all of them?
yeah.
I do.
I do not.
So what's what are their titles? It's WRSD Sterling School Reps?
I'm sorry?
What are their
School
ti-
committee members,
School committee members.
Sterling School Committee.
Sterling School Committee members.
Well,
And it's the WRSD.
WRSD.
They're not the same as Monty Tech, right? Or are they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Christina would know.
No, it's a different person, because when you look at the liaison list
Yeah.
of
It is a
ours,
different list.
there are two different people for Monty Tech and for Wachusett.
Here.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't I, do you want me to put names or just put the committee, just say the committee?
Yes.
Both?
I don't know if they have an email for the committee though, Paul. Let's look it up and see if they do. 'Cause we have a general email, I think. Or we used to.
What, for FinCom?
Yeah,
No,
let's
we
see if the
don't.
school committee has
No, we don't have a mailbox.
One's.
It was requested a couple of years ago and denied.
That's the only one I have.
one. Guess nobody was gonna.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to keep-
Well, yes, they were. But
We were. We're good about that.
Town operation, let's see, school district, no. Joint boards and committees. Let's
it's
look.
on our liaison list on their finance committee. Everybody's email. Oh, no.
No,
we
it's
didn't.
only
No,
the chair. It's
only
only the chair.
only the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we withdrew the email addresses to protect.
I can't find an address for the school committee.
Well, I'm sure we can solve this outside.
I have Sue Anderson's email.
Is she one of them?
Yeah, she's
Sue
one of the
Valentine?
members.
I have
Valentine.
that email for her.
Yeah,
We
Valentine.
definitely have Linda Woodland.
But do we have Linda's?
Yeah.
Because she's the
'cause I-
chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's just send it to Linda then. She can,
Distribute it.
should she choose to.
What's Linda's name?
Woodland.
Yeah, hers.
These are the three. It's right on their website. Let me send you the link. Or you can just copy it.
You got it easy.
Okay, so that was the distraction.
Well, okay, getting back, okay, so that's great. So we got the letter, regardless of what happens tomorrow night, then this should go out on Thursday, I would think. Now, just for an opinion, should it be physically signed and scanned and then dispersed, or just
Sent out electronically.
sent out
as is.
electronically? Or should I sign it, then scan it and attach it?
I think most people accept that the name's there. and
The
it
typed
is.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, and that'll go out Thursday. Yes? If I have time, or Friday at the latest. Because we're not gonna meet again before that time.
Right.
Now, the letter going on to, or has that already been submitted? It has, to the newspaper?
The second
Our
article?
article.
Yes, that was due April 1st.
Okay, so that's
So
already
that's all been taken care of, and I made the adjustments on the basis of what the select board did
the warrant.
in terms of combining, yes, so
Yeah.
that's all been done.
Okay.
And you looked at a lot of words. I noticed right out something else we had, which was great.
Yeah.
Oh, our finance committee,
I took your stuff.
right out of the finance committee report. In the
I am
front.
not gonna reinvent the wheel.
Good idea.
Okay, so, now, who's going to address,
So do we want to backtrack to what he's going to say about?
the school
The school
at
article.
town meeting
Yeah.
itself?
Yeah,
I was, just as an aside, I was talking to, David Cruz called me last night. His wife is one of the select board members in Princeton. And he was relating to me. I was telling him that we're suggesting not to approve. And he just commented that last time in Princeton, they were going to vote against the submitted school budget. That he mentioned they actually put chairs out on the streets with names of teachers that would be let go. So I thought that was kind of interesting information.
Well, they have everything glommed into one. They're
As do we now.
No,
So,
no, they have their entire omnibus budget in one article.
Yeah, but see,
They break up the
the
schools.
thing is, that's a false narrative. I
what's
mean,
that?
that's all theater. We can play theater too. We're not saying no to the school budget. That's just theater. It's theatrics. We can
Yeah.
play theatrics. We can play better than them, actually.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Well, what's gonna happen, that's gonna take place at town meeting floor. You can be rest assured, there's going to be people in favor and people against the school budget. So, that's why, Joe, I'm sure you can. Can you put together a PowerPoint? That, I wouldn't go more than 2 or 3 slides, or
Right.
4 at the most.
I just wanted to know which theme we were going with before we spent the time doing it.
I think,
It seems like it'll follow the letter.
yeah, separating mandatory and
Yeah.
discretionary, and that's probably a lead
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
We're not talking about everything.
yeah.
And then a focus on the 18% increase in the discretionary for 1 year. So-
Are you going to talk to revenue though, or to, you know, with that, our revenue forecast and where it?
I don't think we need to get into that. I think we need to get into the reasons we're not voting for it. And that's all about the discretionary piece, in my view,
Okay, on the school budget.
on the school budget.
You still
That's
think?
why we had separated the two, to allow the town's taxpayers to vote on that piece of it. Now it's all glommed back together again, so now it's an all or nothing. It was effectively an all or nothing before, but it gave a different message if you voted for the minimum required plus debt and transportation, and then voted down the discretionary piece. That would have sent a different message than voting down everything right now.
well, and don't forget, I mean, somebody's gonna make a motion for this article. The finance committee will have its opportunity to present its rationale for why it is recommending against. But it's highly likely that someone from the floor, from town meeting, will ask to amend that article and amend it to just the required amount. And you
Oh,
could
right.
have a vote on that. You do it de facto
Yes, but remember, there's a citizens petition
at
as
the
well
end. Yeah.
at the end, so.
But you have that
I don't know.
opportunity to modify it. Why wait till the end of the meeting when there's a lot less people? I think if Finance Committee makes its recommendation and provides the rationale for the discretionary part, it would be highly likely that someone on the floor would then say, motion to amend this article to include just the required contribution, and then people would vote on that amendment. And then if that amendment passes, then that would be what they would vote on, is just the 10 million.
I think we have to convey that before we split these, that the Finance Committee was in favor of the base budget for the school.
Well,
And had
yes.
voted that way.
Yes,
right?
and I think that there's a messaging that needs to be done in the broader context of the entire Finance Committee's recommendations for the entire set of articles. And I think that there's something to be gained by having a small overview presentation, probably no more than, say, 6 slides, because what I think townspeople need to recognize is that there are only 2 articles here that the Finance Committee has a concern with. And it is out of a goal that the Finance Committee set on prudent spending and staying away from the Prop 2.5 override. So I think that if you set it within that larger context, particularly talking about revenues and expenses, then that transitions us very nicely into the 2 articles that the Finance Committee is not supporting, either in entirety or in partial. So, I mean, in the past, that's been done, but I think there is a lot of goodwill that the Finance Committee could get on the town meeting floor by saying, look, we've gone through all of this stuff, we just have 2 concerns, and here's why we have these 2 concerns.
So what would be the outcome if multiple towns voted against the discretionary piece?
You only need 2.
Yeah, so if they did, what is our real pitch? Is it to reduce the discretionary piece to 3.2% inflation rate?
Yes, yes,
That's the message.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that,
that's pretty clear in the letter.
yes.
Said not to exceed 3.2%.
Right, and in the past, when town meeting has voted down the discretionary part, and they've had to have a special town meeting in July, the school district has come back with a new request. And even that request was modified on the floor to a lesser amount.
Do we need a plant on the floor to make the motion? Or,
I'm sure
we can't make the motion, right?
I'm sure there will be opportunities.
There's one thing I'd like to point out that Joe pointed out when the school was here, and it just sort of got lost in the conversation. Remember, what we consider non-discretionary includes debt service, which for Princeton, for Sterling, I believe that was $1 million difference, or $163,000.
It went
It
down,
actually
didn't it?
went down,
Yeah.
163,000.
They stole it.
They then took that
Stole it.
took the 163 and reallocated it to operating costs,
In other words, they stole it.
which is something that,
I think it's your $193,710, right?
That's why it's on the chart. It's like, you're gonna take, they took all that money and then increased on top of that. That should have come back to us.
so that the
Nobody would ever do that.
discretionary spending isn't actually gone up 17%, it went up 17 plus 193,000.
Yes, exactly.
So, I think that's something, the problem I see is, first of all, we want to be careful about getting into too many weeds, and as we saw in comparing
Well, that's why.
Paul's letter to my letter, mine just kept getting gobblier and gobblier as I went along over a month and a half. Squashing it back down makes so much sense, so it gets to the point. And I think being careful at town meeting of doing my letter instead of Paul's letter, it's just going to lose all meaning. So I think what Joe's looking for is how do you get to the end point like in 5 steps instead of my 20?
Right.
I thought the letter did that.
It does, but how are we going to address that at town meeting? You need a PowerPoint.
You could,
The PowerPoint is that you take that chart and you
Then just
put it
go-
up there and talk to it.
Just talk to
That's
it.
Yeah, and you highlight the one number. It says 17.
How much time do you think we'll have? You'll have to.
We'll have 10 minutes.
You'll have 10 minutes?
Yeah, they usually give 10 minutes to talk.
Oh.
That's unusual.
And it should,
Shouldn't take
if we're talking for 10 minutes, we did something really wrong. Okay, because you just lost everybody.
Yeah. will
If you can't do it in 2 or 3 minutes, you're,
Yeah, we should plan on no more than
Three bullet points.
3 minutes
3 minutes.
max.
Yeah, yeah.
I never thought they gave 10.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's just, so maybe taking the essence of the letter and put it in bullet points?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
Podcast, could see it.
highlight.
and then maybe a
highlight.
graph, people like graphs.
They
They
like
love
graphs
graphs.
over tables like this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, all right, so who's gonna draft a PowerPoint, Joe? Okay,
Now that you identified me, George.
yeah,
Yeah, but I agree, you only need the one PowerPoint slide with the chart.
I'll circulate it around and we'll tear it apart and
Play
put
with
it back
it.
together.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so,
So back to fire?
okay, so that's gonna be in our agenda next time is
The final.
what are we gonna do with the PowerPoints for school? Now we'll move over to fire. And apparently, we're not gonna be talking about overall budgets.
Can I bring up one other thing? The concern about the 2.5 override, because we've done such a fantastic job this year, it's not this year, it's next year.
Right.
So how do we want to position that?
So I think the points are, we should just hammer the same point over and over, which is the school is the biggest part of the budget. They're asking for a number that is completely unreasonable. It's 17%. And because they've asked for this number, we don't think we can hire a firefighter. We don't think we can hire police either. We don't think we can hire anybody because of the school. So you choose, those are the points we should hammer home. I mean, that's our concerns fundamentally. It was we're saying, look, they're all competing for the same limited pool of money, all of them. Whether that's the town clerk, the librarian, you know, if the town clerk wants a raise for the same, where's that money gonna come from? Well, we hired a firefighter, so you don't get overtime for doing 5 elections in 1 year, right? Even though you worked 1,000 hours. They're all competing for the same pot of gold.
And
So-
at some point, the balloon's gonna pop.
Exactly.
Right,
It's gonna pop.
it's gonna pop, and then you're gonna have to do an override.
And school
It's gonna
is
have to happen
driving
at
that.
some point. We're doing our best to maintain the current level.
George? Are the current salaries covered under the basic portion of the school budget?
You should.
Because I remember that presentation that he was talking about a $500,000 cut would result in 20 teachers being let go.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
I did.
I mean, it goes along with what you were saying about the chairs along Main Street.
And we pay our teachers $15,000 a year with benefits. That's probably a stretch.
That
So,
is a big stretch.
So in other words, that's all covered in the
just
basic.
remember, we hired 10 slots in '24, the current year we're in. Once again, with the declining student population. Just for an aside, the foundation budget for Wachusett, okay, so the required minimum spending that Wachusett has to spend this year is above the foundation budget, by the way, okay? And it went up $2.3 million over the foundation budget last year. So they have a built-in 2.3 million. And what was the debt service, Paul? Another 200-ish?
Just under 200. Yeah, just under.
So that's 2.5 million with no increase in what they call discretionary.
And he also made a comment that I noticed, that he would have some openings because teachers weren't coming back,
Correct.
that he might be able to shuffle other positions into.
You always
So-
have turnover.
Yeah, so he wasn't saying, oh, well, I won't fill that position, even though I hired 10 people that I maybe shouldn't have hired last year, but he's saying, I'll shuffle things around so that I can get what I want with.
Yeah, I have a really hard time with last year because he said that nonsense last year and I challenged him. And I said point blank, look, I've worked with lots of unions over the years. You can't just shuffle people around like that. And they're unionized. You can't just, it's not a one for all. You can't just pick a number out of the air, which is what he did.
Yeah.
and said, well, it's just this number. Like, you cannot, that's not how it works. It's just, it doesn't work that way. And yet, that's what he told us. Just like when we were here with the select board, and the woman that sat out there said, you know, the salaries are not covered by the foundation budget. Do the math. They are.
Yeah, Linda said.
Do the math. So she's either lying,
Or she doesn't understand.
which would be maybe extreme, but I'm going on that point, like, or do you not know your job? Or are you incompetent? So which one do you want to pick?
You'll notice we
I mean,
have,
we're being too nice. Quite frankly, we're being way too nice to these people, and we're tiptoeing. And if we tiptoe in this meeting, we're going to lose. You cannot tiptoe. Answers need to be quick and short. Not deliberative, not extended, not talking about other stuff. It needs to be, nope, those salaries are covered. It's 80% of this budget. It equals their salaries and benefits equal this. It's covered by this number. Do you have a relevant question for us now?
No.
That's the answer.
So,
Not a discussion.
So, to Mark, to your question, would you benefit if I read off what comprises that $5.7 million increase?
No, that's okay. I just see that as
It's not new teachers, it's not laying off teachers. It does affect one of the numbers, 2.6 million in salaries and stipend increase, which is a 3.68% increase year over year. So that's to your salary question?
yeah, I just think that
It
this
is in that number, okay? But I think I'll also read off one other important number here. Debt service decrease, 1.399 million, 1.4 million decrease. And so half of that salary
sucked up the debt service.
is debt service.
Now, you'll also notice
We've
that,
done that in our town budget too.
yes, very, very well.
Which many of us to recognize.
You'll notice to this date, we have still not received the comparison between the foundation budget 11 line items and their fiscal 25. And I watched it again last night because I was bored. And at exactly 1 hour and 24 minutes, their finance director said she will do it and send it out.
I recall that, yeah.
Yep. After somebody was badgering her that she was looking in a rearview mirror and we're trying to look out the windshield. And every budgetary agency does that. They reflect on yesterday, they look at last year's budget times X, and that's this year's budget, regardless if last year's budget was right or wrong. The Board of Health is a case in point. Paul pointed it out. All they do is they take their budget every year times X and increase, regardless of what they actually spend.
Right.
And they did that for 5 years in a row. So anyway, that's my spiel. So, fire.
Okay. So,
I'd like to start with
yeah,
your slides of setting the stage in terms of here's the money. And then maybe incorporating some of the slides that I suggested. And if you don't feel comfortable with, saying hold off until the study, but you could certainly say that the study is going to be very important for having a better understanding and providing lots more justification for trying to get to the 12, the ultimate 12.
are we saying that they're asking for 12 in the line?
Well, we were told that.
I know.
But you don't have to say the specific 12, but you can say, certainly we are looking forward to the results of the study for additional staffing, but right now we're recommending no.
Is a layperson going to look at this chart within a 2 to 3 minute dissertation and grasp any of it?
Is it
Lynn's chart?
too busy?
Yeah.
No, I think Lynn needs to bullet this.
So,
No.
No, because she's doing too many years,
There's
she's
too
doing
much
too much
stuff.
fiscal year out stuff. So there's got to be ways of taking
Focus
the
on this year.
general gist
Okay.
of what she tried to do with the first 2 slides
Yeah.
and
So-
turning them into bullets that might have some percentages and some actual numbers. But
okay, so let's talk about the revenue forecast. What bullets would you do on that? One of the things that I thought about was that, we do expect that jump. And some people know about the North Gate and they know that there's building going on, so why aren't we gonna see a revenue increase? Well, this, our forecast is saying in '27, we're gonna see some revenue increase from that. Now, you gave us the revenue forecast, Joe. Where did you get those numbers? Did it,
Bill,
from Bill? Okay. So
those are
basically.
his projections based on what he knows right now.
Yeah. So basically,
But I think you should stick with the fiscal year '25, which is under discussion. I think you're obfuscating a little bit by talking about '27 and possible increases, because at the same time, there's a fair share estimation in all of these out fiscal years that is the same, and there's a really good chance that number's gonna go down.
Yeah.
They're
We
moving out of
saw-
state.
More than likely.
Yeah, we saw, so I think to say, oh, well, it may not be that bad, but you're
even
not telling the
the
entire picture.
fire chief said the ambulance revenue is gonna go down.
Yeah, everything. So I don't think that you want to start painting a rosy future picture so much as you want to paint the existing picture and saying, here's our concerns. We just dodged the bullet for this one, but there's a good chance that for next year, if things keep going the way they're going, we're going to be looking at a Prop 2.5
Again,
override.
we think we dodged a bullet.
Yes,
We haven't dodged a bullet. We think we did. What if all of a sudden Amos receipts go down? What if they're
Right.
500,000 in '25?
right.
Guess
Right.
what? We didn't dodge the bullet.
And we've moved stuff to debt, which will increase our debt service in future years,
Right.
which has to be paid out of our budget.
Yes. So,
So we've done a few things to try to avoid a 2.5 in this year that are gonna make things harder in some ways in future years. Without revenue.
Well, we're under leveraged as well, and I mean, we brought our debt service down to the point where we didn't have any leverage anymore, basically.
the key points are the same as the school. It should be like a replay of the school just with relation to the fire department. I just had a long conversation with my neighbor across the street, used to be the fire chief for West Boylston. He retired not too long ago. We talked a lot about like those $1 million ladders that, trucks that we don't really need,
Yeah, I know.
and some other things. So we talked a lot about those things. Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. We're just growing. We just keep growing the base. We need to make the same points. It's the same issues affect us. It's not just teachers that have to give. It's police and fire too. Those are the big payroll items. If we want a firefighter, I'm not saying we don't, but if we want one, we need to do a better job overall with our budget.
One of the comments I gave back to Liz on her presentation is I think it's important to say that on her salary details page there, did you read the stuff?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That has a .47 tax levy
Okay,
impact
yeah.
on it straight away this year. If you vote for this, you're voting for another 0.5 percentage point increase in your tax levy, basically. That's impactful to people because they don't get it otherwise. And it reduces our excess levy capacity from what we think is marginally comfortable to getting to be not comfortable. And that's what we work hard on trying to maintain
But
that.
I would be more blunt and say we will be in an override position. That's where we're headed. That's point blank. If we're on this path, that's where we're headed next year. If you approve this budget, that's where we're headed. So it's not just taxes going up this year, it's taxes going out even more the following year because we're not in control of our budget.
Have we computed the average cost to the taxpayer yet? Average increase?
Yeah, it's in the finance report. The
Oh,
expected
that's good.
increase
The expected increase, okay.
to come in on slightly under 4% based on everything we know right now. But that will be probably slightly over 4% because we don't talk about the firefighter included in the budget in our finance report. It'll be slightly over 4%.
Okay, so basically, it's okay to say our costs are growing faster than our revenue, right?
Yeah.
that drives you to a 2.5, whatever that
And
is.
you should make the point that salaries and benefits in particular are growing 9 to 10% a year, and so.
And insurance. Yep.
And insurance, that drives,
The second bullet that you put in the notes page of your first chart, where you say payroll and benefit costs are increasing at a higher rate,
yep,
and adding positions also drives expenses, I think that's a
Yeah.
fundamental message to get across.
yep.
Um,
It's not just fire, it's all.
All of
Yes,
all
yes,
of
any
it.
department.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, there's something else I just heard the other day about STEP programs. You realize everybody in this town that's on a payroll has a STEP increase, which has nothing to do with the COLA. COLA's on top of the STEP.
So
And what I heard, I'm sorry, go ahead.
could you clarify that for me? Because
Okay.
I was looking at exactly that, and I know when a new person is hired, in year 1, 2, and 3, they go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and it's on average about a 4% increase
It's exactly
based
4%.
upon what you said, your analysis. So that person goes from
1 to 2.
1 to 2 and gets a 4% increase. And
Plus.
in addition, gets a 3% COLA increase.
7%.
Which is a 7% increase from year to year within the first 3 years of employment.
And then every other
And then
year,
every other year. So when people in the town hear that the wages and salaries of town employees are held to a 3% cost of living, they don't understand that
Right.
they are also getting an additional 4% for the most part, except for a couple of years in the middle. And so town staff is increasing salary annually by 7%.
the union contracts have a same STEP facility. So when you looked at the thing that we talked about ad nauseum a month or two ago, the personnel costs over the last 5 years, and overall town-wide, it averaged, I think it was 7.8% increase.
Right.
Okay? Everybody scratches their head. How the heck can it go up 7.8% per year? We're only doing 2.5% and 3% COLA.
Right.
That's how.
That's the steps.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, one of the reasons for steps, okay, as I started this, was because they have theoretically served a year, got more efficient, learned their position better, and then can be more efficient and more productive. Therefore, it is not same level service next year just by going with a 3% COLA and not adding bodies. People keep saying it's same level service. Well, why are they doing a step? If it's same level, they're supposed to be better than they were last year. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a step program. So that's another
That
talking
could be
point.
brought out, because I think most townspeople do not understand.
They have no concept that people get a
add-on,
7%.
That addition.
Yeah.
Do we, I know for a period of time, several years ago, there was, that we voted on at town meeting, merit and longevity opportunities. Is that still in our personnel bylaws?
Yes, they call it merit and longevity, and no, actually, in this warrant, they're getting rid of the word merit.
But longevity is
Yeah,
still.
and that's what a step is, okay? It's
Okay.
longevity.
Okay.
You outlasted the other guy by a year, you get a 4% increase. So, I'm sorry, but I was bringing up the fire department pay scale, Lynn. It's same thing, it's a step program plus a COLA.
How many
Yeah.
steps do we have?
We have 11.
So you could be working here for 15 years and you would still be at that 7%.
Lunenburg has 8, and Lunenburg step go up 3% per year. Ours go up 4%.
Yeah, I remember your analysis,
and go longer.
yeah.
Yes, they do. Actually, ours are 11 plus.
Yeah.
So it goes on infinitum. And at year 8, it's every 3 years. So you
Okay,
get a COLA,
so-
COLA plus step.
Right.
COLA.
COLA plus step,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, what would be an interesting adjunct to your analysis would be where all of town employees stand on the steps
No.
in terms of years of service.
Remember, the way they get the COLA increase is the steps go up 4% per year, okay? When you go from step 1 to step 2, it's 4%.
Right.
The step 1 dollar amount goes up the COLA amount every year. So when you're in year 11 and you have 3 more years before you get your next step increase,
Yeah.
that step has gone up 3%, 3%,
Oh, I got it.
3%.
Yeah.
Now you get your step, which is now 9% plus the 3%.
No, I-
Okay, so it's 12% after the 3
Yeah.
years, but you got the 3% during, so,
Yeah, and so much of our town budget is wages and salaries.
like all municipalities.
Yeah.
And the school,
I get it.
and the school. So, and the firefighters.
So a couple more questions. This had some background about the current staffing and what they want to go to. Do you want to do any of that? Like the fact that they're 7 full-time, we've hired a new one in 21 and 22.
22, yeah.
Should we do that kind of background? No? You wouldn't do
I would
that?
stick to the main point.
Just the
It
revenue?
has nothing to do with
It's
how many
gonna-
we had or we're grabbing this.
It's gonna be too much too. You
It's
gotta
too,
lose
it's,
everybody.
having
It's too
apprentices is
busy.
too much, it's just the budget doesn't allow for us to hire people like this without putting us near an override. And we wanna deal with the core issue, because that, again, that's getting lost in the weeds.
Yeah, those we usually put in backup behind the
Right.
slide labeled backup.
Now, in avoiding the override, I put all the information Joe had about how excess levy capacity and what an override means. Should we get into any of that at all? No.
People just hear the word Prop 2.5.
Taxes are
Close
going up
attention,
big
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it means.
That's,
Okay, I will try to do maybe just one slide.
Yes.
And kind of follow your
Yep.
thing, and I'll pass it by.
I think it's one no more than 2.
One no
I
more.
would say one.
Okay.
If you got one slide and keep it to less than 3 minutes.
Okay,
Just short and sweet. And you don't even have to do the 3 minutes. Just make your point. Make it less than that. If you can do it 2 minutes, do it 2 minutes.
okay. Sounds good. I will give it a shot. I'm gonna pass it by you first.
Okay,
We're
when,
good at cutting them down.
all right, so is there any more discussion on the PowerPoints for the fire department? All right,
I think we should have a goal to have them amongst us pretty well wrapped up by the time we meet on the 23rd.
Oh, yeah, I'd say we have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because then we only have a week.
In other words, we're just gonna nod our head on the 23rd, basically. That's the condition we should be in.
So you're gonna generate one for schools, you'll generate another one for fire, disperse them. Anybody has any comments, they'll get back on the 23rd. You'll have combined all the edits that people
Yeah, I'll probably
suggested.
go back and forth with a couple. Get my thoughts together and then,
On the 23rd will be presentation time.
okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so,
this wasn't, but now
do
it
we
is.
have anything else to talk about, or is that it? I think that's it.
Oh, I did have one
Yes.
item under, call it new business. I just wanted to let everybody know that this Thursday at 9 o'clock at the senior center, the DPW chief will be talking about DPW's building needs as part of the Dull Men's Club. So everybody here that's on Capitol that would like to hear,
It's 9 AM.
9 a.m., Ryan Moradian's presentation on DPW building needs. And the coffee's always good.
And one other thing we should bring up as well. Liz and I had a discussion about the nice articles that she wrote for the newspaper and expanding the scope of those to social media as well, because I kind of think you get more impact from social media possibly these days than the newspaper. So when will it publish? Because you wanted to wait till it published.
Yeah, it's usually around this week that people will be receiving Sterling Meeting House news in their mailboxes. So I wanted to give them the courtesy of letting them have that article come to everyone first. And there's also that whole thing of making sure that we keep this in people's minds just before May the 6th. So I was thinking I could send it out next week or the week after.
What you were telling me, you're definitely not a TikToker. That's what I can tell.
Why, what's the matter?
You're talking about waiting to put out, social media is instantaneous.
No, but you know what?
I'm not disagreeing
Meeting
with
House
you.
News has been very kind to us and given us space.
Yeah.
And so I feel that we should do that.
No, I have no issue with what you're saying.
But there will be probably a article that I submit for the May issue, which due date is May 1st. And that one will be kind of a summation, goals, looking forward. Here's our concerns, and that one I definitely want out before town meeting. Because that could be more than anything else, the cautionary tale of the future.
Now, what social media are you going to use, Liz?
So that's what I was gonna ask, is how many places are we gonna hit?
I was going to use the Sterling community page on Facebook because it's pretty active.
Yes.
And
How
that's,
about next door?
I could do next
There's a
door.
lot of Sterling
I'm
people
on
in
next door also, so
Yes.
I could do that.
And,
What You Chat is a larger community. If we wanted to put up something,
Brother Tom?
I would suggest the Wachusett letter go on What You Chat, because that's the 5 towns primarily.
are you gonna put it up on Laura Johnson's, Sterling past, present, and future?
Oh, I'm not on that one.
That's why I was asking, does everybody
Yeah.
have a favorite that they should
So
recommend?
that's-
I would
I
say
have-
next door for sure.
Yeah, next
I wouldn't
door.
call those, I don't know, my idea of social media is not that.
She gets a lot of following on her.
Laura, okay, so Sterling past, present, and future
Yeah.
on Facebook.
I don't look at
Community.
I'm pretty much disconnected.
So I do the Sterling community page next door and Sterling past, present, and future. So the 2 articles will go up simultaneously. The one for March, the one for the April issue, and then I've still got to write the May one.
And
I would
that'll
say-
go
I
out
would say-
before the newspaper then.
Yes, yes, yes.
I would say the article for the school goes up as soon as we post it.
I agree.
It goes up immediately.
Yep, and add What You Chat to that distribution. Yep. Yep.
Any other?
So what
When
goes
you
up,
say the
Paul?
article for the school, you mean the letter?
The letter.
After
The letter.
Thursday morning or Friday.
Okay.
Yep.
And what about the finance committee report? Does that go on social media in addition to the warrant ahead of the town meeting? What do we feel about
I
that?
think that would be excellent to put it up yesterday, because that requires reading it and digesting it.
Yeah.
And most of
Sure.
us get it in the warrant and we're madly flipping.
Select Board hasn't
Town meeting.
agreed to incorporate it in the warrant yet.
Yes,
Did they?
yeah, no, well,
I thought they were gonna,
I thought Maureen said, no, that was fine.
No.
She wanted to see it. I guess,
I'm not sure why
She
they
She said
hadn't
she
seen
wanted to cut
it.
it down.
yeah, she
She
would've-
commented, and I said it's 2.5 pages, and it's in keeping with prior ones that were also 2.5
Yeah.
pages.
So I don't think anything has been resolved regarding the letter in the
Well, she
warrant.
said, do what you want.
I think,
it's
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's in there.
She's, it may be better if it was a little shorter, and she's probably right, but she said, do what you want.
Don't know.
So it just depends on how much time we want to put into it.
I was like, okay, we'll do whatever.
That was a dangerous word.
All right, any other, yes, Valerie?
Yes, as a town resident, not a member of Finance Committee,
Right.
sitting at the meeting, the annual town meeting, I think it would be important for our preparation for this next meeting to develop slides, yes, but also to write up a narrative of what you're going to actually physically say at the meeting. And that way, you know, there might be a chance then to see if you're really focusing on the important points. because I believe it would be helpful to put up a detailed slide, but not speak to it per se. And then if someone in the town audience had a question, you know, then you could just answer it quickly. You'd have your data there, or have it as a backup. But I think it's important to really work on the narrative, the phrasing and the timing, and what, you know, words in a sentence you're going to really put emphasis on, just, you know, to really reflect what this committee has voted for.
Thank you.
And I guess I would also, some people are better, faster on their feet than others, so I would be very happy to have Paul be the one who presents these things. 'Cause
Well, anyone, but if you practice and you have the words,
I know,
then that's
but-
part of you. That's very important, what you believe.
Yep, and I agree, but some people just present better than others.
Well, I may practice more.
But anyway, so think about it, Paul, if you'd be willing to do that. But I just think that, you know.
Yeah, no, you'd be great. No.
Well, I think,
Authority.
but again, we all have taken on liaison
Yeah.
duties.
Yeah,
And you are the Finance Committee liaison to the fire department. That is your responsibility. And you can talk to from several years of doing that.
I can back you up. Somebody
Yep.
gets up.
Ask a question. Right, exactly, yeah.
That's fine.
So remember to post us as a meeting, of
All right,
annual town meeting. We need a posted agenda for annual town meeting, like we did last year.
And that'll be to
It's-
discuss the warrant.
Yes.
That's the whole agenda.
Yes, it's a joint meeting. Typically, we set our time at 6 p.m.
6 o'clock, yeah.
Yes.
And then, just to
Okay.
discuss, otherwise we're,
So we're gonna have a meeting on the 23rd?
Yeah.
Everybody on board on that?
okay.
Okay, so 6:30 on the 23rd, late, drunk, or both, we'll all be here,
it's a Tuesday, so we'll be in this room?
correct window.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, it depends on, who else has this room on Tuesdays?
No, not one.
Think
No,
anybody-
Once in a while, quarterly, I think assessors.
Okay. All right, do I hear any other motions?
Motion to adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
Of both meetings,
Okay.
CDC and FinCom. Yes, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, see you in a couple weeks.